Chapter 16. The next day at camp, I walk in through the front doors determined. Before Mr. Kyle and Miss Susan start going over the schedule, I corner them. "I've been reading," I begin. "That's terrific. What about?" asked Miss Susan. "I read about how the oceans are filling up with plastic. I spent all afternoon being blue yesterday, but today, more than ever, I want to fix it." I curl my fist and pump it. Mr. Kyle and Miss Susan look at each other and then nod at me. "Awesome, young lady." "But I don't know how," I reply, looking down at the ground. "Hey there, don't worry. We'll give you some ideas. Promise," says Miss Susan. Once all the campers have arrived and settled down, Mr. Kyle speaks.
"Today, we're going to work more on the enrichment toys, but I want to start the day talking about something else. I know many people are concerned about the oceans. Stella just came to us this morning feeling pretty blue about it."
I turn a little roja. I didn't know I'd be put on the spot.
"How many of you feel that way too?"
Everyone else raises their hands. The roja fades away. I'm not alone.
So, I thought we could spend some time brainstorming ideas. Little things that we can do to make a change.
Mr. Kyle continues.
Specifically, let's think of ways we can cut down on plastic.
I perk up. I'm all ears. Mr. Kyle writes on the blackboard, "Ways to cut down on plastic."
So, do any of you have any ideas?
Logan raises his hand. "You can carry a reusable bottle. My dad got me this one." He raises up his bottle. "It has shocks on it."
"That's a great idea. And remember, you don't have to put just water in it. You can put in juice or coffee when you're older,"
responds Miss Susan.
"Anyone else?"
asks Mr. Kyle. Kristen raises her hand. "What about plastic straws? My mom says we shouldn't use them anymore." I gulp. I love plastic straws.
"That's a great idea,"
replies Mr. Kyle, writing it down.
"And there are some great reusable straws too, made out of silicone and stainless steel."
Phew! I feel relieved. Then I think of one. Could people use tote bags instead of plastic bags? My neighbor Linda always carries one around.
"Yes. And make sure to say no to one when you're offered a plastic bag,"
says Mr. Kyle, writing my suggestion on the board next to the other two ideas.
"Does anyone else have an idea?"
says Miss Susan. The room grows silent. Everyone is scratching their heads trying to come up with an idea. Miss Susan raises her hand.
"Can I suggest one?"
We all nod our heads. What about plastic spoons, forks, and knives? Just bring your own with you and say no when someone like a restaurant offers you some.
"Fabulous,"
says Mr. Kyle, writing it down. Miss Susan says, "This is a great start, and these are only 4 recommendations. But if all of you follow them, then it can make a big impact. And if you all spread the word, it can have an even bigger effect." I look at the list on the board. This is easy. I can do this, I think. Then Mr. Kyle says,
"And one last suggestion. There is a great article called Planet or Plastic in National Geographic."
Kristen raises her hand. "I know that article. I stopped reading it. It was too sad."
I completely agree. It's heartbreaking, but its sole purpose is to inform. You know, sometimes you have to confront people with really hard information to make them realize how important the cause is,
says Mr. Kyle. I nod. It's so upsetting. But now that I know more about how we're harming the oceans, I have to save them. And I'm going to tell everyone about the plastic crisis. At least try. Even if it's scary to talk to new people. This is too important.
But the best part of the article is that at the end, there is a pledge. By signing the pledge, you agree to stop using so much plastic because you love the oceans more.
I can do that. I'm so determined that I speak aloud without thinking.
I thought so,
replies Miss Susan. Especially coming from the future Sylvia Earle. 1. Carry a reusable bottle. 2. Say no to plastic straws. 3. Carry a tote bag and say no to plastic bags. 4. Say no to plastic cutlery. Chapter 17.